Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to share SizeUp El Paso with you. We're just going to give everyone about 60 seconds to get started. Make sure they can get connected to audio. If Zoom has to get updated, they can do that. And then Mary Beth Stevens with the Better Business Bureau will be leading us off with comments. So just give us a few seconds and we'll get started right away. It looks like everyone has joined and started getting connected to audio. We're going to go ahead and not wait anymore. We're going to get started with this very exciting session. I'd like to introduce to you Mary Beth Stevens with the Better Business Bureau, who's going to lead us off. Mary Beth, over to you.
Thank you, Mario. We're so excited today to be able to provide this demo of SizeUp. We introduced it to the community just a few weeks ago. It is located, as most of you already know, on epbusinessstrong.org. That's epbusinessstrong.org. Lots of other resources there too, but we're real excited about this new one. It's going to be a great benefit to our local community. And we're really pleased to have Mario, who you've just seen, Obalde, and Armando Morales from SizeUp. And Armando's actually an El Paso native, so that's kind of special for us. And they're going to be doing the demo in just a few minutes. But first, I wanted to introduce the people that have made this happen. And that is Mireya Crego from the City of El Paso. She's the Assistant Economic Development Director. She's going to say a few things. And also, we've been working hand in hand with the County of El Paso, Michael Hernandez. So we're going to let Mireya start us off.
Thank you, Mary Beth. We're really excited that Mary Beth chose or took on this initiative with the city and the county. She's been an excellent partner since the beginning, working with small businesses. And so we're really excited. We want to help our community be as resilient moving forward and providing them those tools to help them, make good decisions and make affordable decisions. Really, in this case, it's a no-cost decision for them. So we're really excited to be able to offer these services to them. So thank you all for participating in this really important session.
Michael?
Hello, I'm Michael Hernandez, the Director of Economic Development for El Paso County, where we've created new programs and resources to support hundreds of small businesses, even new startups. We're pleased to work in tandem with the Better Business Bureau and the City of El Paso on so much of this work. One of those resources is EP Business Strong, our website, where businesses have turned to for help, whether it's finding assistance, finding some capital, ways to find capital, and other tools. We're adding an exciting, important tool called SizeUp for you to gain more information about your market so you can make good, informed decisions about how you can grow, how you can reformat your business, and where you can see how to thrive. So we're really excited about today. We're happy that you're with us, and we encourage you to use the SizeUp tool as much as possible. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So just a couple housekeeping, or really one housekeeping item. Mario and Armando are going to start the demo here in just a second, and we will have opportunity for Q&A at the end. If you would use the Q&A function down at the bottom of your screen to put in your questions, that'll be probably the most efficient way, but we'll make sure we are able to answer everything, or we'll do our best anyway. So with that, I'm going to get to Mario and Armando, the reason y'all are here for the SizeUp demo. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary Beth. Really appreciate it. I promise this is going to be a live and a very exciting demo, but we do want to provide a little bit of context for everything that people have been talking about in terms of the power of the tool and how you can use it. So I want to go ahead and just share a few slides with you talking about why SizeUp El Paso matters. So the first thing is that this is a business intelligence tool for you. Now, this is the same type of information that your big businesses are using, your national businesses, your McDonald's, your Starbucks, your Walmart. The difference is we're putting it in the hands of small business so that from a data intelligence standpoint, you are in a competitive landscape with these larger businesses. The other thing is it is a tool for you. We know how busy you are. We want to be very respectful of your time. That's why we scheduled this webinar during lunch hour when hopefully we're not forcing you to multitask too much. So SizeUp works 24/7. A lot of the times we know that you're going to be accessing this information in evenings and weekends when you're not busy selling your products or providing your services. The other thing that we know is it has to be simple to use. And so we're going to show you that during this demonstration. It's a very powerful application with very meaningful, robust data, but it's just click and point and enter some data, and we're going to get you the information that you need. The other thing that we may have time to cover, but I'll show the button for sure, is that there's a report creator. So we recognize that you don't just work online. You have partners, you may have investors, you may have bankers, advertising experts that you work with. Any report that you see on the tool that you want to put into a loan application, a marketing plan, a business plan, you can take that information into a paper report and then extract that, put it into Excel, do what you need to do with it. So that's a little bit about the application before I get to the demo. Let's talk about what's happening economically. And you're like, oh, you're showing me business starts in the United States. Why does this matter? Well, see this little dip right here? That little dip that you're seeing was the start of the pandemic. And we thought this was a trend. What we've seen instead is an explosion of new businesses that is unprecedented in the history of the US economy. Now you're like, well, this is the US, but I have news for you. This is also happening in the South. And it's happening here in Texas. Why does it matter that all of these new businesses or existing businesses need to have access to this type of data? I will tell you why. It's because this is the first 5-year survival rate for new businesses. And you can see that each year businesses that have started will fail. But what you're going to see is there's a very specific reason that they fail. So about a third of businesses will fail because of a natural death. So this is a death because they're selling horseshoes when people move to cars, or they're trying to rent DVDs and videotapes when people move to streaming services. But about 2/3 of businesses that fail because they don't have the data to be properly prepared to compete in this marketplace. And so what you can see is if you provide them with this data, you turn this 50% survival rate to this larger chunk here. It's only those red businesses, the ones that just aren't set to succeed, that can fail. So we can take a business that might die and help it survive. And we can help a business surviving and allow them to thrive. So this is just a little bit about the context in which the economy in which this tool is being used right now. Now, this is a very powerful tool. And while it's designed for small businesses, you can go as broad or as deep as you want. So for instance, we could look at all restaurants and benchmark ourselves against all restaurants, from white tablecloth, fine dining restaurants to a taco truck. Or you can go into, say, restaurants from Italian and then to pizza. You can go as broad or as deep as you want. We're only going to show you a few examples during this presentation. But if you're working in plastics manufacturing, or you're working in a coffee shop, or if you're doing forestry, or you are a carpenter, we've got you covered. We just ask you to use plain language to insert the type of data that you're looking for. The other thing that we want you to understand is the analysis always starts within El Paso, but it can extend to whatever you think your trade market is. So if you are a business that's exporting your goods throughout the US, or if you're a local restaurant just servicing your neighborhood, we've got you covered. We'll show you how to do that analysis. And you can do that analysis, as I mentioned, right from the level of a coffee shop, or you can go to entire industries. So from not just from restaurants, but all food manufacturing and preparation. So without any further delays, what I do want to do now is actually take you into that application. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you and take you directly to the SizeUp El Paso Strong tool, which you'll find right here on the El Paso Business Strong website, and then you can link to it. So one of the things that I want to point out to you is I said, we're making this simple for you. We're not asking you for NAICS code or SIC codes. We know that 95% of small businesses don't know what those are. And even if you do, you probably don't know what your industry's is. So if you're into a restaurant, go ahead and type in restaurant. You'll find all of the matching codes. If you're into plastics, that's fine. You can go from everything from plastic surgery to plastic foam manufacturing. In this case, let's go ahead and look at coffee shops. I know not everyone eats at fine dining restaurants and not everyone eats at taco trucks. I'm assuming everyone at some point has gotten a cup of coffee or tea, if that's what you prefer. And so you see, you just enter in plain English with Spanish upcoming, the industry that you're in, along with your location, which is El Paso. And then you're going to have 4 different types of analysis to choose from. Benchmarking, where you can see how your business is performing or your prospective business would perform. Competition in advertising that Armando is going to cover. And then lastly, demographics. So let's say that you were starting as a coffee shop and you thought in your plan that you're going to sell $750,000 or $750,000. What you'd find out is that actually is about 3/4 of what the average or typical coffee shop would be making in El Paso. That would put you in the 33rd percentile of coffee shops in terms of revenue. So right from the jump, you're getting very valuable information. Now you might be thinking, oh, that doesn't seem really great. I'm only at 3/4 of the average coffee shop. That's why context matters. We know that small businesses have different operating principles and purposes than the average business. So we're not just going to base things on revenue. And while it's really valuable for you to see that, and you can see it in a tabular view or a chart view, and you can look at the concentration of where that revenue is happening, we're going to show you more than that. We can actually look at the overall trends within a given industry. So you think that maybe there's a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts or whatever on every corner. You can see the trends within your industry. Maybe you're not a national business. You can see under the map right here, you can uncheck the areas that you don't want to analyze and then just focus on the areas that you do, whether it's city, county, metro, or state. And at any time, you can also change the analysis. So right now I'm looking at coffee shops. If I thought, oh, you know what, I'm really thinking about offering food and maybe even table service, you could switch to cafes. And you can see the difference in real time as millions of data points are recalculated based on the change in your prospective business or your existing business. We'll go ahead and go back to coffee shops right now for this example and show you what the overall trends are. So you can see that in 2020, there were 65 new coffee shops started in the state, 1 in the metro, 1 in the county, 1 in the city. That's really helpful information. So you can see that there are still new coffee shops opening, maybe not at the velocity of 20 years ago, but there's still room for new coffee shops. If we went to like movie and DVD rentals, we'd see that line cascading all the way down to the right as no new stores are opening. So this can help you understand whether the industry that you're in or the industry that you're thinking about entering is robust. I'm sure if we went to, more healthier dining places, you'd see even more businesses starting in that category. We can also look at salary. I think we can all agree that $20,000 doesn't seem like a lot of money, but actually that's a very fair compensation for someone working in the coffee shop industry. And we can also look not just at salary by a specific industry, but we can break that down further. Now, from here, I'd actually like to move away from coffee shops to show you a more reasonable example of where you might do that. So let's pretend that you're a dentist. And so you want to go ahead and see what a dental assistant is making. You can actually compare up to 3 different positions at a time. You can compare as many as you want if you want to make changes, but you can compare up to 3 different businesses at the same time. So we're looking at dental assistants, and we're seeing what their wages are at the metro, state, and national level. You might also expect to see dental hygienists who are making a little bit more, about $31 per hour. Or we can actually look at the dentists themselves making about $92 per hour. So we can change these categories just like we did the industry that we were analyzing. So if you are in a business that isn't flat, if you have different types of workers throughout your business, you can understand the labor force related compensation statistics based on both average hourly and median hourly wages. You can also look at the size of a business. So we're talking about a coffee shop. I think we can all agree that 8 people is a small business. You can actually see that's a very small coffee shop. It's almost half the size of a typical coffee shop in El Paso. And this is why context matters. So originally we were looking at this coffee shop going, hey, we're making about 3/4 of what a typical coffee shop could make, but we're doing so with about half the employees. And so what we see is our cost effectiveness. We're paying our employees more, right? We're making slightly less revenue, but we have about half the employees. So we thought that we were below average in terms of our revenue, but maybe we're a specialty coffee shop. Maybe we have employees that know a lot about, the organic, locally roasted beans providing our coffee. And so we can see that we're actually above average in terms of cost effectiveness. And that's why context matters so much. We can look at revenue per capita, and that's revenue per capita here, and then total revenue by businesses. So you can see both the areas that are spending the money on the service or product that you're selling, as well as the areas where the businesses are receiving that revenue. And we can look at local turnover. A lot of small businesses don't have access to this data because they don't have a back-end professional HR team supporting them. So imagine if you were that typical, let's go ahead and split the difference. Let's say that our coffee shop had 10 people or 10 full-time equivalent. And we're frustrated because we're losing one person per year and we have to recruit, retrain that person. That seems like a weak point to you, but objectively through the lens of data, you should be losing about 1.5 people. Through the lens of data, what you thought was a weak spot is actually a strength for your business. There's something about the culture, the compensation, the product that you're selling that's allowing you to keep more than your fair share of your workforce. And we have some additional information. A lot of small businesses just pay what they pay for their healthcare costs. They don't have a way to benchmark that without professional HR. So I could put in 6,000 and you could see that the average for the state is 7,000 per employee. And you can see the state ranking nationally. You could also look at workers' compensation. These are all valuable benchmarks for businesses that don't previously have access to information, and now they do. And El Paso is one of the first communities in the United States to get access to our even more valuable and new KPIs to help them understand how they're performing relative not just to finance, but also in terms of how and when they're providing their services and to the type of social media marketing that's important within their industry. So if we were not just comparing how much you were paying and how many employees you had, but how many hours you're open, you can actually see that the average coffee shop in El Paso is open 91 hours. That's a little bit more than the county. So apparently people need to stay up a little bit later, get a little bit more caffeine for all of the wonderful social amenities they have in the city to take advantage of them. And you can see what it is in the metro area, even the state. So you can see where the fun is. It's in the city of El Paso. Apparently you've superseded the rest of the state in terms of hours of your coffee shops being open, as well as the national average. Now, this is really valuable information. You can understand how often those businesses are open, but we can also look at when businesses traditionally shut, both in overall businesses, and then we can look at the hours within your given industry. So you can see exactly when El Paso is staying open later or opening earlier from other businesses in this. And this can go to manufacturing as well, if you want to see when people are running that. And so this provides, again, context. Are you making more money or less money than your competitors in fewer hours? So your profitability per hour can also impact the way that you analyze the success or room for improvement in your given business. The other thing that we're going to do, and we're going to cover this a little bit more in advertising, is where you want to maximize the value of each dollar that you spend on your advertising. So this is a coffee shop, and we could go ahead and enter Mario's Coffee, and we could see how many coffee shops at the local national level. So what we're seeing is websites, while important, around 75 to 88%, you can see that actually it may not be as important in El Paso as it is elsewhere in terms of websites for coffee shops. We could look at Facebook, we can look at Instagram, and because of time, I'm not going to cover, at length this, but what you can see is that LinkedIn is not a huge place for social media advertising for a coffee shop. If we switch to like attorneys or, insurance agents, you might see linked up go up more, and maybe YouTube or Twitter wouldn't be as important. So it just depends on the industry that you're in, but you can see within a given industry where people are focusing on creating content so that you know whether to buy those ads, and we're going to help you target those ads. Armando's going to show that to you, whether you want to focus on YouTube or Twitter or LinkedIn or Instagram. And then at the very bottom, if you want a snapshot view of everything, you can click this summary view button. So hopefully you guys are seeing that as I move my mouse. And now you have a dashboard for all of these critical KPIs. So if you want to run through scenarios, you can use the dashboard right here. This is your first year in business. You think you're ready to scale up. Maybe you're going to go ahead and hit that $1 million of revenue, but you're going to have to add 2 more full-time employees to achieve that. So by going through these scenarios, you can actually see that you went from 1% above average cost effectiveness to 8%. So you can start to realize that economy of scale or run through other scenarios that suit your particular business model in your location with your business plan. So this is the first of the 4 models that we were going to talk about today, which is the My Business or benchmarking tool. It allows you to see exactly how your existing business or your prospective business, if you're an entrepreneur, would be performing against businesses that are typical in the industry. And at this point, I'm going to pass this on to Armando, who's going to talk you through the competition and advertising tools. And I'll come back for demographics. Armando, over to you.
Thanks, Mario. While we're switching screens, we did have a couple of questions, one that we can answer at this moment, all having to do with the data. One of the questions was, how often is this data, or how recent is this data?
So this is a great question, and we really should spend time talking about this because we have hundreds of different data sets. What Armando's going to show you right now in the competition tool is what we call, and I remember I said I was going to keep this simple. We refer to it in the industry as firmographic data. What you're going to think about it is your different business points on the map. All of the information that you're going to see right now on the competition tool is updated every 3 months. Now, there can be anywhere from a 3 to a 6 month lag in terms of us getting that data and then processing it, but it is updated every fiscal quarter. That also means that the calculations that you are seeing on the benchmarking tool in terms of the revenue, number of employees, all of that is also updated every 3 months. Some of our data comes from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That is comes from a government source that's updated annually. Time permitting, I'll actually walk you through our data buckets and we can talk about that more in depth. But we want to make sure that you can see how to use the tool during the rest of the presentation. So we're going to hold that to the end. As Armando comes on, I will be monitoring Q&A and chat. So I will keep answering those questions while Armando leads us in the next stage. Thank you, Armando.
Thanks, Mario. So just to give kind of a different perspective, we'll go ahead and jump to a different industry. We're going to go ahead and go to embroidery for this particular case. So we'll type in embroidery just like we did before. We'll type in El Paso, Texas. We'll type in El Paso, Texas, and then we'll be able to go to the customers. Whoop. What is, are you guys seeing everything? I guess there was a lag. And we'll go to the competition tool. And here we give a lay of the land so you can see what the lay of the industry is in El Paso. And we do this in 3 different ways. We show you where and who your competitors are. We help you discover your customer base. And then we also help you find things you may have not known, such as where other suppliers are that you can get your products from. So right now we're going to dive into the competitors. You will right away, you'll see that you get a list of who is out there. Who would you be competing with as an embroiderer? You will see if you're competing with big box stores, if you're competing with mom and pop stores. As an embroiderer, you're typically not going to find big box stores. However, you can see that more information about the current competition. So if we're to click on some of these, you can see some more information about how long they've been in business, some contact information, some websites. So you can do a little bit of research and you can kind of see who you're competing against, even if it's not big box stores that you're readily aware of. So now that we know who our competition is, we need to potentially develop a customer prospect list. Now, it starts off blank because who knows who your target customer is more than you do. So if I was an embroiderer, I would typically look at something that are businesses that have a larger employee base. And please keep in mind, this is a business to business tool. So we are looking at other businesses in this particular case. So here, manufacturers typically have a lot of employees. So we're going to go ahead and type in industries or manufacturing industries. And these you can stack on top of each other. So if you feel there's more, you'll have a bigger customer base by entering additional industries, you can go ahead and do so. But as for now, this screen will populate and you will get customer info or customer info just like we did on the competitor. So you'll have an idea of how long they've been in business, their contact information, some social media, that kind of thing. And in addition to that, we can see where the consumer spending is. So we can not only see where the businesses are, but we can also see where consumers are spending their money. In our case, we're looking at apparel, services, and accessories. And for embroidery, we're going to look at repairs and alterations. Now, what's great about this, and you'll see it even more powerful in the following tool in the demographics, is we can see this all the way at the block group level. So we can zoom in and we can get an idea of exactly how much is being spent in each block group within the city. So now that we've gone over that, last part of this module is the suppliers. Where exactly are we going to get our supplies from? What makes sense? So in embroidery, if we start typing embroidery, what makes the most sense to me is embroidery supplies. Now, as a business, I have many options. I can see that I can go here to schoolwares, Omni Sports, and I can see what their prices are, exactly what they deal in, potentially negotiate, and it gives me better options. So that was the competition tool, gives you 3 different perspectives to give you a full understanding of the landscape of, in this case, embroidery. Competition, who are your competitors, where are they located, your customers, create a prospective customer base, and suppliers, find out where they're located, give yourself options. Now, before I move on to the next one, Mario, is there any questions in the chat that we can answer at this time before I move on to the next module?
None right now. You're free to go ahead, and I'll keep answering in chat any ones that come in.
Great, thank you very much. The next one, the advertising. Small businesses know that they need to advertise. We are in the age of social media. However, they don't always have the biggest budgets for advertising. So in order to get a bigger bang for your buck, we've developed this tool so that you can target where you advertise. So again, to give you guys kind of another example, we're going to go ahead and go as if I was selling beauty products. So if I'm looking to advertise in beauty salons as someone who has beauty products, I can search in multiple different ways: total revenue, revenue per capita, most underserved businesses, and then the rest, right, as displayed there. And we can do this on 2 approaches. We can do this by looking at industries, or we can do this by looking at demographics. So right now we're going to go ahead and look at the approach of looking at demographics. And when we look at demographics, I'm going to go ahead. What makes the most sense to me at this point is if I were to look at revenue per capita, see the quality of those dollars. So right now we see that the results show that there are 15 zip codes. Right now that's quite a bit. We can continue to filter that down by clicking on the filter tab here. And I see that my search radius is set by default to 10 miles. Now, if you'll notice, that doesn't include the outskirt towns like Canutillo, Socorro, San Elizario. But if we really wanted to, we could extend that search distance and include them, get up to 15 miles out there. And as Mario stated in the PowerPoint presentation, this is where you can, even if you really wanted to, you could search all the way nationwide on where you could advertise. Now, for the purposes of this demo, we're going to go ahead and limit it to 10 miles. looking at the demographic characteristics, we are going to look at, if I'm selling beauty products, I want to make sure that the demographics include household incomes that are making at least 50,000 or more, making sure that they have enough disposable income so that they can spend on it. We also want to make sure that they're actually spending that money. So 40,000 of their 50,000. And then we also want to make sure that they're old enough to be able to use these beauty products. So we're going to set it to 15, and we can see that the results turn up 7 zip codes. Now, not all of these are created equal. They are ranked here. As you can see, the red is more intense, the yellow is less intense. We can see that the best results here, the top 4, zip code 35, 12, 25, and 22. Now, if I'm trying to keep it in a close geographical area, it looks like zip code 35 and 25 are in pretty close proximity. Now, let's see how this pans out if we take the approach of looking at it by industry. So if we go back to the filters, we can go ahead and clear these filters, keep the search radius at 10, and then jump down to the industry performance. Now, we can also look at the approach here. I think that maybe we'll go ahead and keep it at revenue per capita. Just keep it as a consistent search. We look at the industry performance, annual revenue, average business. We want to make sure that the businesses that we're advertising to are making at least 100,000, and we want to make sure that the revenue per capita is high enough to where it's worth it for me to go to those particular zip codes in those industries. So we're going to look at 50 per capita, $50 per capita. Looking at the results, we have 10 zip codes still. Again, not all zip codes are created equal. Now that we've looked at both by demographics and by industry, the zip codes 35 and 25 are standout. While 12 and 02 do appear, they're not as prominent as in both like they were here. So if I'm a small business and I want a bigger ROI from my advertising dollars, if I'm looking at beauty salons or beauty products, then I am going to start advertising in the 79935 zip code and the 79925 zip code. And one of the great things about this is, just like all of our modules, if you want to put that information in a report, you can go ahead and click on this PDF button and it will display everything that you just put, all of your inputs in a report. You can print it out, you can share it, you can use it for a later date. So that was the advertising tool. Now, before we move on to the final module, I just wanted to show you a little bit extra on how you can combine some of these tools. So we looked at advertising and we looked at the best areas to advertise in. Now, if we want to be even more specific, we've already gone through the competition tool, but now that we know what our zip codes of interest are, we can look here. Beauty salons has already been inputted. Customers, if we want to look at the customers who are beauty salons, that will now populate. And now we can start searching for the zip code areas and see exactly who we are advertising to. And we can advertise to those directly. So here's the 79925. So we've got WM Beauty Lounge. We've got a little bit too far, 79936. Moving over here, we've got 79935 again with the Milan Salon and Day Spa. So right there, we can be even more specific. And if we want to define even more, make it a broader, we can continue to add industries. So that was a way to combine the advertising and the competition to make your advertising targeting even more targeted. And then now Mario will go ahead and show you the final module in the SizeUp software. Mario?
Absolutely. Thanks for the intro. I navigated a way to get the link for the newsletter sign up. So before I go to the demographics, I may actually pause for a moment. So one, the questions about this video keep coming up. I want to make sure that everyone's aware. This session is being recorded. That's why I'm making sure that I'm on my best behavior. But beyond that, please make sure that you do sign up for the El Paso Business Strong newsletter. And you can actually see that right here. Oh, I think I'm sharing the wrong window. One second. There we go. So you can see that button right up there, and that will take you over to the newsletter sign up. And that way, Mary Beth, Michael, the entire team can keep you updated, not just about SizeUp, but about all the tools and happenings for you. So please do sign up for that. And then I'm going to move back over to the demographics tool. So as a quick review, you have the My Business tool that helps you understand objectively how your business or your prospective business is performing. The competition tool allows you to see the spatial relationships between your entire ecosystem, your competitors, your customers or potential customers, because you can use that tool as a prospecting tool, and then your supply chain, and it can go out as far as you want. So if you need to get special wood from Washington State, you can do that. Or if you need some cherry blossoms from Washington, DC, you can do that as well. And then the advertising tool helps you optimize where you're going to advertise. Along with the benchmarking tool, you can understand whether that's on Twitter or LinkedIn, on a billboard, local community buses, neighborhood newspapers. You get the idea. And then the fourth tool is the demographic tool. And the demographic tool is one of the more powerful tools. It's also the one that requires a certain degree of interpretation by you or by the person that is helping you with this type of analysis. And there's three different types of analysis that we can do. And you've probably seen these before, right? When you're in the news and they talk to you about this is how many people live here, or this is our breakdown of age or race or things of that nature. Completely valid way to think about things. What I find is that most businesses tend to think about more about where they are relative to their specific location. And so we could look at something like, let's type in 300 North Campbell Street. I think we might know that address because it's also El Paso City Hall. So let's just pretend for a minute that we're running a type of business. We want to see what's happening 10 miles from City Hall. So you notice that we're going to pull up 10 miles because it's math. Some of that includes Mexico. I do want to explain that this is demographics that are US based only. And if I turned on one of the heat maps, you could actually see that more specifically where the barrier ends. But we're not going to mess with the laws of physics. So 10 miles is still 10 miles, regardless of where you are. But the analysis is for US-based households. So we could look at this as 10 miles, or some people, as you know, drive cars. And so maybe instead of 10 miles, you might want to look at 5 minutes. You can see that both types of analysis are available here. You just select the one that you want, in this case, minutes, and then 5, and then we can go ahead and look at an overview. And so you'll see instead of that really perfect circle, you're now looking at this drive time polygon. Or you might think that your draw could be farther away. We can go ahead and show you now a 15-minute drive time. So these are the areas that could get to your location within that time. So as El Paso businesses expand and demand for services increase, Michael and his team have to leave 300 North Campbell Street, and now it's available because they have to move into a bigger building, and this is now available for your business, and you want to do analysis on that. Now, we could look at demographic overview, and we could say, hey, I'm really targeting in my business, let's say that I'm that embroidery shop, and we're targeting people who are 40-year-olds in their recreational bowling leagues. We can go ahead and turn that on, and we can see where that concentration is, where there's a higher number of people who are 40 to 49, or we can also, you notice on the map, look at the percentage. So we're going to go ahead and, because there may just be dense areas where there's lots of people, more populated areas, we can also see the percentage. So you notice that as we toggle, we see the difference where there's a high amount and then there's a high percentage. So unsurprisingly, you can see as we head towards downtown in that area, you can see where the concentration of 40-year-olds are. Or you could say, I'm looking for 30 to 39-year-olds. Now, remind you, this is for business. This is not a dating app. There's lots of those on the internet. So while you can actually see where the concentration of 20 to 29-year-olds or 30 to 39-year-olds are, we're really focused on the characteristics that matter to you. So perhaps you are targeting families. So you might want to look at household size. Maybe we're looking for 4-person households. So you can see the concentration of where those people are. And as I zoom in, you notice that we've gone from zip code level, and we showed this before, we could go to county level, state level. Now we're looking at neighborhoods. So you're seeing where 4-person households are. So you can see over here near Eucalyptus, Central El Paso, you have a higher percentage. Not shockingly, right near Lost Kingdom Water Park. That's an amenity for families of 4, but fewer over here in this area. So you can go, as we said before, as broad or as deep as you want. Now, this is by drive time. Let me show you something that I think is really cool. While people drive their cars or people may respect political boundaries, one of the things that you may want to do is identify in a specific area or travel corridor what you're looking to accomplish. You can select this within a boundary tool, and you can say, I really think that my labor shed is going to come from, and again, you could draw some random, here's my crown, a picture right here. And instead of looking at demographic overviews or consumer expenditures, we can look at labor force. So I'm going to create a labor force report. I'm going to find out that within this specific shape, there are 6,840 businesses with 99,169 employees. Let's say that I was in a business where I'm trying to recruit workers or understand where the businesses are. We can look at all of the businesses here and across hundreds of categories, or we can go directly into the actual employees. So now we're looking at mining and construction here. Or we want to dive down even further. We can say, hey, I'm building bridges and high-rise buildings. Instead of looking just at general construction, we can look at heavy construction workers. Now we're seeing the concentration of where those heavy construction workers are employed, both as a percentage and as aggregate numbers. So if you want to recruit people within a given industry, you can use this tool to help you target those skilled workers in the field that you're looking at. Now, this is just one example. As I mentioned, we were looking at demographics, so we could do the same thing. We're going to reset the selection, and we're going to say, hey, this is I have a women's boutique. And I think this is the area that I could draw from for my women's boutique. And instead of looking at labor force, I could do a demographic overview. And I could say that I'm really focused on people building their career wardrobe. So I'm going to go ahead and look at people who have bachelor's degrees. And now I have that concentration of people who have bachelor's degrees. If I zoom out farther, I can now get it at the zip code level if I think that I have a larger draw. I saw a question in here about an ethnic group. Sure, absolutely. Let's say that you are targeting Hispanic Latino. You can see that within that geography, it's 56.72% of the population within this geography is Hispanic or Latino. And if we dive in further, you can actually see where the concentration is by ethnic group. I want to be very clear here that we respect people's privacy. So you notice that you can do as much analysis as you want, but it's one at a time, right? So we're not in there going, okay, show me all of the 60-year-old African-American women who have a household net worth over $1 billion, because eventually only Oprah's house shows up and we don't want to make Oprah angry. So you can overlay this data as many times as you want, but we do, again, respect people's privacy. So it's one demographic variable at a time. So you can see all of that information in the demographics tool, and you can do it again for consumer expenditures as well. So we were looking originally at a specific boundary. We can come back around and we can put in a different address, Bob Hope Drive. We could do a 10-minute consumer expenditure report. And then if we were focused on women's apparel, we could turn that in and we can see those expenditures within that given category as well. So it just depends on the type of analysis that you want to do. So the demographic tool is one of the more powerful tools. It's also the one that requires you to ask those questions so very carefully so that we're generating the right answer to the questions that you have. So in quick review, we have 4 tools for you. The demographic tool allows you deep neighborhood level analysis in whatever characteristic matters to you, whether it's the talented workforce that you need, a specific type of consumer, a specific age, ethnic breakdown, education, household net worth. The advertising tool is going to tell you where within those areas you can maximize the value of each dollar that you spend. And the competition tool can help you understand the ecosystem. And lastly, the My Business tool is going to help you see how your business would fare against the typical business in your industry. So we've definitely left some time for some Q&A. So we're going to go ahead and stop sharing the tool right now and start answering your questions. Armando, I was busy with that tool. Let me know if there are specific questions. But before we get started on that, I definitely saw a whole bunch of questions that I'm going to direct to Mary Beth and Michael, which is, you had questions specifically oriented around how much does this cost? How can I access it? So can I hand that over to you to respond?
Sure, sure. Now the beauty of this is that the city and county and the Better Business Bureau partnered to make this tool available to everyone in the community for free. There's no sign up, you just go on, you don't have to necessarily register. You can, so it saves your data and things like that, but it's absolutely free. You can start using it right now if you want. And that's our goal, is to keep it that way in perpetuity. Another important question that has come up, and it's been addressed, but will this be available in Spanish? That is in the plan. SizeUp is working on that. We can't give an exact date, but it's going to hopefully be sooner rather than later. We know that's obviously super important to our community, so we're really excited about that. And it is in the works. And just to repeat again, is this going to be recorded? Yes, it will. And we will have it shared through social. It'll be on epbusinessstrong.org. And then one other thing I wanted to point out before we get to the Q&A is that this is a lot of information. You'll be able to see this again. There's also a lot more information in the tool. You will see little I icons, the letter I. Thank you to pull that up. In there's some like real short, I don't know, they're 15 to 30-second demos on the particular thing. So make sure you use those as you go through too. They're real easy. And as I've told people, they've made this so intuitive, but this demo has been super, super helpful. So with that, unless Michael or Miranda's here with us with the city, if you don't have anything to add at this point before we close, we could do the Q&A.
Sure.
Is that good? Okay, let's go right.
Okay. So, and please, as questions come up, Armando and I are going to handle all the technical ones, but if policy questions or questions about access come up, we'll definitely come back to Mary Beth, Michael, and Miranda. So Armando, we had a question about the data. Let me go ahead and pull up my PowerPoint again, and I will give you a more full description of our data. So let me share that screen with everyone. And I will walk you through the process. So we showed you different modules. The benchmarking tool is essentially business data that's updated every 3 months. You saw Google Maps and an overlay of heat maps on Google Maps, consumer expenditures, everything else. We tend to think about data as being in different buckets, and we think these are the buckets that you're interested in, which is the industry, demographic, and geographic data. So it depends on what you're looking at. The consumer expenditures, all of the demographic reports, consumer expenditures, business and workforce, and demographics, that's updated twice annually or semi-annually. Now, if you imagine we're upgrading firmographic data or business data every 3 months, there is a lag on that. We want to be very transparent about that, but we do update it quarterly. So if you're looking at, say, advertising, and you're looking at business revenue versus underserved markets, you're combining data sets that are updated every 3 months and every 6 months. So it depends on the module that you're looking at. When you see turnover, wages, that information comes from government sources like the Bureau of Economic Analysis, Bureau of Labor Statistics. That information is updated annually. We provide information about data updates directly to our partners. So I can't stress this enough. Subscribe to the newsletter, because all of this information is going to get communicated back to you by Mary Beth, by Michael, by Miranda. So that information is updated quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. And it comes from different sources depending on the industries that you're in. If you're a public company, you have to file your quarterly stock statements with the SEC or other organizations. If you're an attorney, you have to pass the bar exam. If you're a CPA, similarly. So it's going to depend on the industries that you're looking at. But whether it's public or private, we use a lot of the same base level data that's used by Google Maps, Yelp, Apple Maps, and things of that nature. We're just applying our heuristics and algorithms to it to provide you objective data for how that works. And Siri thought I was talking to her, so apologies for that. So that's the information about the data. So I hope that answers the question. And if you have further questions, we have white papers written by people who are both smarter and better looking than me on our website. And if you want to read through hundreds of pages of nth level of standard deviations above the mean, I invite you to do so. But you guys are very well caffeinated in El Paso. We have objective evidence for that. So I advise against that because it may put you to sleep. Hopefully that is there. Let me see. Do we have any other questions on?
Yes.
Can you feed them to me, Armando, please?
So one of the questions is, to populate the map, do businesses need to register somewhere? And I think you kind of alluded to that with the data question. But if you want to take that.
Yeah, so no, no registration is required to use the application. We are in the process. We never sell your data. We right now, if you visit our help site, which is on the help button, that will also lead you to other material. You can submit a ticket. So if you're a new business and you want to get listed sooner than later, right now you can just submit a ticket. We'll support that, send that over to our business partners. And they all have their own processes for updating their information. We're trying to automate that as well. It's one of the projects that we're looking at releasing in Q3 of this year, along with the Spanish availability. So things on our product roadmap that are within this quarter, I can be more sure about. Things farther out than that, it becomes a bit of a guessing game. So again, it's one of those things that we can do for you, but we use the same base level data providers that are common throughout the industry. Is anyone who has done a home loan or a credit card application, you know that those companies tend to know more about how we spend our money than we do. At least in my case, I let my wife use my work computer to shop for yoga pants one time. And now those ads follow me all over the internet. And I promise I'm wearing jeans right now, not yoga pants. So we hope that that information is valuable to you in terms of understanding some of the base levels of that data. Was there another question?
There are a couple more questions. Two of them I'm going to go ahead and combine because they both have to do with the demographics. Can you look at real estate costs / values or ethnic groups?
So in terms of real estate values, that can be, so we're not looking at commercial properties or residential properties right now. You certainly could look at household net worth or household income if you thought that those were valuable measurements relative to property values. They oftentimes do parallel, but we're not focused on that. That's not our mission. That becomes something that probably you or your real estate agent or broker would probably want to dive into. In terms of demographics, yes, absolutely. We have breakdowns by ethnic groups, income level, age level, education, household net worth. And then within labor force, you can also look at that in terms of what people are working in. So all of that is present. There's hundreds of categories. I will go ahead and share my screen just to kind of walk you through what you're looking at. So you can see this is the demographic overview, and you're looking at age, race, household income distribution, labor force status, whether people are renting or buying their houses, educational level, size of household. If we're in consumer expenditures, we're talking about, hey, I need to know whether this is a good place for a grocery store, that's food at home, or I need to know whether I want to have a takeout restaurant. Again, hundreds of categories here, and it breaks down into things like hair care, which is not a category that I'm contributing to, but I don't mind a good mani and pedi every so often. So that would fit under personal care services. So you can break things down as much as you want. And I do want to point out, while the analysis has to start within El Paso, if you have a national trade area, so I'll talk about something that happened during the pandemic. Everyone was buying outdoor furniture initially. And we had a group of people that were selling sandboxes and play structures for one of our clients, and they were in a rural area in Montana. So you can imagine, if you're looking at underserved areas for outdoor furniture, you might sell out the entire area very quickly in a rural area that's not as dense as El Paso. But if you were selling nationally, you can go to the filter and you can find out that you're just not marketing to El Paso. You're also marketing to Oxnard, California, Rialto, Vienna, West Virginia, and Reynoldsburg, Ohio. And I apologize if I mispronounced the name of any of those cities, but you get the idea. The analysis always starts within the city of El Paso, but it extends to whatever you think your trade area is. So you can do this analysis based on your unique value proposition, your unique service, your unique product. So whatever your business is doing, we can support you in that within the 50 US states. What was the other question?
The last question that I have is, well, more of a request, is if you can post the link for the white papers that were mentioned earlier.
I don't have that off the top of my head, but if you go to our website, SizeUp.com, they're somewhere in there. If here's what I will do. For those people who are really interested, I'll go ahead and put my email in there. You can email me and I'll follow up with you. Or you can visit our help site and submit a ticket and we'll get it to you. All right.
And that was it as far as the questions in the chat.
All right. Well, I know that we are right on time, which is great, because I think that means that we really respected the time that you were taking out of your day to learn more. So unless there are any other questions, please remember you're always welcome to visit El Paso Business Strong, sign up for the newsletter, reach out to them. All of the technical questions will supply answers directly to Mary Beth, Michael, Miranda, and the team. Otherwise, I'll throw it back to you, Mary Beth, for any closing statements you'd like to make. And thank you all once again for investing your time to learn more about this valuable tool for you.
Thank you so much, Mario and Armando. One thing I want to just also remind you, don't forget, he said it quickly at the beginning, when you do your searches, you can print these out as reports. Super valuable if you're looking for financing, things like that. So that's really, really great. I know that Miranda's got to jump off right at 12:30. So I want to thank her for being here from the city of El Paso and all of your support, as well as Michael. And if you have, we would love your feedback on the training. We're happy to do more trainings, we'll kind of train the trainer now with for ourselves. So probably not Mario and Armando, but we're happy to set up things. If you've got places you want us to be or come or do, we're going to try to work with UTEP and UPCC and others as this, because we just want people to use the tool. I mean, as you can see, I hope you found it fabulous. Any feedback, please send Mary Beth at bbbelpaso.org. Just send it back to me. Anything you'd like us to do or we could do differently, please let us know. And we're just excited for everyone to start using this and taking advantage of it. Miranda or Michael, do you have anything to add?
We're just grateful for everybody taking the time to learn about this, and we are excited about you using our free tool. We're happy to make these investments. We'll continue to look for more resources that will help your business grow.
Just want to say thank you all for being here. Also, if you could share the information, it will definitely help a lot of small businesses and even entrepreneurs who are thinking about opening businesses. So definitely spread the word. Thank you so much again.
Yep, spread that word. And again, thank you, SizeUp. We're super glad to be partnering with you and appreciate all that you've done to get this up for us so quickly.
That's great. Everyone stay safe. Have a wonderful and productive day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.